Okay, first of all, first thing I do is I get a customer outside, I walk them around the house. I find all of the problems that they have existing on their home. One thing for you guys, you gotta make sure that you're putting us in a situation where we're gonna be able to go in and truly sell Tex-Cote Cool Wall. We're not a paint company, guys. We haven't sold paint in over a year. So don't even mention paint versus coating. Get it completely out of your vocabulary, because by the time I get done with the Tex-Cote demo, they don't want anything to do with paint. And right now, paint costs more than Tex-Cote. Yeah, if we were to go in there and demo, we would charge them more to paint their home than to Tex-Cote it.
Wow.
That's a fact.
Why is that?
Because there's no promo on paint, none, because we don't want to sell it. And we're going to eliminate it. They're going to cancel it completely. So nobody sells paint anymore. And what happens, we get to the house and the guys, we get to the door and they go, okay, the gate's open. Go ahead and do your thing and just let me know when you're done with your estimate. How am I going to sell that?
You're not.
I'm not. There's no expectation. They're thinking it's just paint. And that's how all painting companies do it. They just do a quick estimate, give them a written quote, hand it to them, and off they go. We can't sell Tex-Cote doing that. So you got to get the expectation up to these people that we're there to sell them a lifetime energy efficient paint product. It's called Tex-Cote Cool Wall. My representative, when he comes out, will be able to show you a demonstration of all the wonderful benefits that Tex-Cote Cool Wall will do for you and your home, and it is a lifetime product. Now, if you set that up that way, and then they're going to let us realize that we're there to give them a presentation. And I walk up with my bag and everything, and they're like, they come out, shut the door, and they go, well, the gate's open, so we're like, we're done. They're not expecting a presentation. When they expect a presentation, I will sell 55% of those. I did last year. 55% of the people I demo, I sell. So you got to put me in a situation where I can do that. And, we're talking about an investment in your property, not an expenditure. Paint is just something you got to do over and over and over. Tex-Cote is a once and done and never do it again. It might cost a little bit more, but it'll cost far less in the long run. And that's the words you use. So, and I'm going to tell you, it's like I went to last summer, I went to San Jose and I threw a demonstration and told the guys to eliminate paint out of their vocabulary. They went out and wrote 3 leads that day. I demoed all 3 and sold all 3.
Nice.
So it's all how you set it up for us. Because if they think we're coming there just to give them a quick paint estimate, we're screwed. And I've been running a lot of those, not even getting in the door. But the ones that invite me in to sit down for a presentation, I will sell 55%. Okay. Now, one thing we do is we talk about the quality of paint has gone downhill. In the state of California, we're the only state in America where all the exterior paint is the same thing you use interior paint is now used exterior. Water-based latex.
Right? Wow.
It's water-based latex. In 1978, prior, we used to paint with lead-based paint.
It'll make paint.
And it would last you 25 years. But they outlawed it. Then they came out with oil-based paint. Oil would actually soak into your wood and preserve the wood and give you a good 10, 15 years of benefit. Well, about 8 years ago, they outlawed oil-based paint in California because you had to clean your brushes with a paint solvent, paint thinner, and the paint thinner ended up in our ecosystem, contaminated the water system in the state of California. So we're the only state in America where we use all water-based paint for exterior. And it's 70% water. Now, you take and put a wood or stucco home and you spray it with a 70% water-based paint. What soaks into the wood? Water. What does water do? It causes the wood to swell, pushes the nails out, causes the nails to rust. You see it on homes. You walk up to homes that are freshly painted, they got all their nails are rusting. And I go up and we pull those nails out with our fingers because they painted it with water-based paint. Tex-Cote's not a water-based product. So after I do a walk around with them, talk about the paint story. By the way, all the homeowner association, I have several homes. I got homes all over the place in Montana, Idaho, in Southern Cal, but I also have bought one here in a gated community. They took and were painted. They were painting every 7 years. They found that by painting every 7 years, they end up spending more money on dry rot repair than they are on painting. So they just raised our dues by $90 a month to paint every 3 years. And all homeowner associations in California are doing that. They're going to paint every 3 years. And my home was painted a year and a half ago, and it already shows signs of needing painted again.
Tell them about Tex-Cote, Tom.
Yeah. My home in Southern California, I did 29 years ago with Tex-Cote Cool Wall. My home looks like it was just painted to this day. It's the best investment I've ever made on my properties, is Tex-Cote Cool Wall. And of course, the homeowner association won't let us put Tex-Cote because it's too expensive, and yet it would be cheaper in the long run. We do it once and never have to do it again. But they don't, the guys on the board of trustees don't live there. They're not concerned about it because we're going to pay for it through our homeowner association dues.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, now, once I get them into the home, I go through a presentation. Now, I'm not going to do the book presentation, which I sell them on it. But the one thing is Tex-Cote Cool Wall started in 1961. 1961, and it was invented by the military. Military paints all their planes, tanks, and jet with this product because it doesn't put out a heat signature, so it gave stealth technology. It keeps the walls about 40 degrees cooler in the summer months. So you can go up to a house in a hot summer day and hit it with a heat gun, and it'll be 140 degrees. And with Tex-Cote, it'll be at 99 degrees. So that's where the energy conservation comes in. But here's what's going on right now. This right here is a sample. This has regular Tex-Cote or regular stucco with paint. This has regular stucco with regular paint. This has stucco with Tex-Cote on it. I'm going to take and put some water on that one and on that one. And we'll come back to this here in about 2-3 minutes. And what's going on right now is it's raining. It's like I look across there, I can already see the walls on that building, the stucco. Straight across over there underneath the window is getting dark. The stucco above it is dry, light. You can see it's dry, but it's getting wet. As it rains, that stucco is very porous. Wood and stucco is very porous. It's soaking up water and it's getting that wall saturated, soaking wet. And on a cold, cold day, guess what? How much energy does it take to heat a house with wet, damp, cold walls?
A lot.
Takes a lot. Versus if it was 100% dry. And that's what in my cul-de-sac, when I sold in Southern California, I've done every home in the cul-de-sac. Took me a few years to get them, but they went and painted their home. And then the next 2 years, they were like, geez, why does your house look so amazing? And it rains and it looks like you never get hit with water, never soaks up, but ours is saturated and their dark color really soaks up and you can see the change. And then
leaves a stain when it dries. So it just gets wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, versus staying dry forever. And that's, now look at this. Come here, look at this. Tell me what had happened to the water on this one.
It's
gone.
absorbed. The other one is resistant.
And look at this one. It'll stay there until a day it evaporates. It'll never soak in. This one soaked in within a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And this with Tex-Cote Cool Wall is staying dry permanently. It's like sealing a swimming pool. Water will not penetrate that whatsoever.
Nice.
You know, so when you're walking out there in the rain day and you see their house, go up and say, man, your walls are just soaking wet. That's not good. Getting wet, and then it dries out, and then it gets wet, dries out, and especially the wood. The wood does the same thing. Well, when it gets wet, it swells. When it dries, it shrinks. And that constant expansion contraction on that wood is what causes those nails to poke out and then why they start rusting. And water-based paint does nothing to stop water. Okay, so now we've actually taken, just before I started, I threw an aspirin inside of this hydrophobic resin. These are the two main ingredients. And I'm not going to bore you with all the different ingredients that goes into it, like mildewcide. We got mildewcide. We got all kinds of perlite, acrylic. But one thing is that, no, just leave it. But one thing is we have a mold inhibitor in our product. You go up and see a lot of these the staining from water running off their roof and on their walls all the time, and it turns black. That's black mold. In the winter, it turns green. And then in the summer, it dries out and turns black. And then it becomes very, very, very deadly. Those mold spores become airborne. And it's hazardous. But you'll see it on all of these stucco walls where they've got stain, especially along the bottom, because it gets wet, dry, every time the ground gets wet. So what we do is we actually go around and we will trench around a house. Anywhere there's foundation goes directly to dirt. So we trench 4 to 6 inches and pull the dirt away and then pressure wash the entire property with 3,000 PSI sprayers. They blast the heck out of the walls, and anything that's coming off is coming off with 3,000 PSI sprayer. Anybody else in the painting industry, that all they use is 600-700 PSI sprayers because that's all they need to run spray watered down latex paint. My product is going to go on so much thicker and heavier. It's actually, and I took a big picture. I'll show you guys this. My home in Southern California, I took and had to fix I took a gallon of primer and pulled it out because my wife took and was mowing around our courtyard. After about 20 years of mowing and hitting it with the wheels against the wall, she scraped through the surface of the Tex-Cote down to the bare stucco. So I decided, what the heck, I've got all this extra paint and primer left over. I pulled it off the rafters, pulled it down, popped the lid, and went, wow, after 20 some years later, I thought I'd be throwing it away. And yet it was perfectly fine. Tex-Cote. I took and stirred it up, took a drill with my drill with the blender on it and stirred it all up good and went and rolled it on the primer. Then the next day did the color and it looks immaculate. Now my wife no longer gets to mow. She's got her own lawn guy. She's got her tree trimming guy. She's got her pool guy, the maintenance guy and she's taken care of down there. But anyway, if you look at this, I took and stirred up and put a stick and stood it up inside of there. That right there, if you were to take any paint and put a stick in there, what would it do?
Go to the side.
Yeah. Because there's no substance to it. It's all water. 70% water base. And then they take and pour a quarter of it out of their 5-gallon jug and put more water and turn it into 5 gallons into 10 gallons. They double their productivity. And then they have to go really fast. They're not going slow like our guys. I got videos I show of my guys going constant, even strokes where they're spraying it. And it takes 3,000 PSI sprayer to suck it out of that jug through the nozzle and spray it out evenly. Anybody else's paint sprayers would just sit there and go blump, 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 blump. It wouldn't even be able to suck it out because it's so thick. You know, because here's paint. Feel this. This is Tex-Cote.
Oh, yeah. Way different.
Which one would you rather have on your house?
That one?
That one. This feels like leather. This is just real thin, watered down paint. This goes on about 600% thicker. And in your book, and we show an example. Yeah, because we show this in the house where water-based paint is 70% water and ours is only 38%. And it's this product right here, it's hydrophobic resin. And I put an aspirin inside of that, a generic uncoated aspirin before I started. That aspirin normally in liquid would dissolve. But in this hydrophobic resin, a hydrophobic pigment, hydrophobic stands for fear of water. That aspirin is going to be sealed right to the center. And then here in a little bit, I'll take and drop a regular aspirin in the water and that aspirin, and the one in the hydrophobic resin will never dissolve, ever. So, but anyway, and we show it goes on 600% thicker, the primer and paint, compared to anybody else's regular primer or regular paint. And most of the painting contractors, what they did to fool us is they took paint and mixed primer in it and called it exterior paint and primer. So now all these painting professionals out there are doing the house one time. They're not doing it twice. They're doing it once with paint and primer in one. And if you go and ask any paint professional, can you do that? They go, absolutely not. You need a quality primer. And quality primer costs way more than regular paint. And then before COVID, you used to be able to get a house painted for about $7,000. Typical home would be done for about $7,000. Well, guess what happened since COVID? Cost of a gallon paint went from $29 a gallon before COVID to $85 a gallon on sale at Home Depot. So now it is more than doubled, almost tripled in price. So now that $7,000 paint job has doubled. People are now ending up spending $14,000, $15,000 of paint, and for a little bit more, they could get Tex-Cote. And reason why we don't show paint is because our paint costs more than Tex-Cote. So why, after I'm done butchering paint, why would they want paint?
Yeah, right.
They're not going to want nothing to do with it. And that's where it's your job is to sell that. So, and if you notice, look at this. I mean, this is still sitting there. Water does not penetrate Tex-Cote. It seals it like sealing a swimming pool, all the way down below the foundation. Because it stops. And the reason why we do that is because we took a sponge. We soaked it in half of hydrophobic resin. Your foundation is like a sponge. When the rain hits the ground, your wall, look at this, the sponge, your foundation soaks water up. If you ever notice, most homes, you look at it, along the bottom is where their dry rot is. Right where their wood comes down, and then you see their cement. And right above it, it's all rotten right there. Because the ground constantly gets wet every time it rains or the sprinklers come on, and it soaks up and climbs up and gets behind the wood, causing it to stay wet and damp. Dry rot has gone up by 400% ever since they outlawed oil-based paint.
Wow.
And then this water works its way back into the ground and starts its process over again. Every time the sprinklers come on or it rains, the ground gets wet and it pulls all the acidity out of the ground from acid rain, from chemicals, from the pesticides and everything gets soaked up into the wet dry, gets wet dry, wet dry, wet dry. And their foundation starts deteriorating. There are people out there that are having to have their foundations replaced, which is spending between starting out at about $50,000 and up. Because back when they built these homes 30, 40 years ago, they used 3 sacks of cement per yard, where now they use 6 sacks per yard. Because they didn't use enough cement in their mixture. Now they've learned. And now what's happening is all these older homes are having doors that don't shut, windows don't right. All around their windows, doors are cracking, big cracks. We find it every time we do an inspection. We see cracking all around their windows and doors because their home is settling and their foundation is being deteriorated. Well, we're going to trench below, pressure wash it, patch it, spray it with a primer, spray it with a color, stop the capillary activity for the rest of its life. This sponge on this side, I could put this in here indefinitely, and that sponge will never get wet. We even took a piece of cardboard, put half of it in hydrophobic resin, the other half not. Watch this. Just in a second, I can take and dry this side off, and this side is perfectly dry. This side is dry. This side, if I can seal paper, am I going to seal their walls in their home?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. You know, so, and then I take this side and show them, here, it's completely dry. We're 100% waterproof in the exterior of their home permanently. And today you'll go out there and walk up to homes and see them just soaking wet, saturated with water. And then they're going to be paying double their heating bill because they're trying to heat the house with wet, damp, cold walls. Instead, they should be dry. And Mother Nature, it's like everybody, when they pull into my cul-de-sac all the time, my home was always, after a hard rain, completely dry. And everybody else was soaked up with water, and it would stain so bad that after 2-3 years, they'd have to repaint. So that's when I eventually got them all sold with Tex-Cote in my whole cul-de-sac in Southern Cal. Now they do we pressure wash. I will talk about the 10-step process where they do an inspection. We trench, we blast with 3,000 PSI sprayers on every home. Nobody uses that kind of pressure. All they're doing is rinsing the dirt off. We're going out there and taking anything that's coming off is coming off. And if they took that 3,000 PSI sprayer straight toward the wall, they'd blast right through into the house. They have to put a special oscillator on it and hit it at an angle and go pretty fast. And it blasts the heck out of it. And then they patch. We have a patented patching material it's called Flex Patch. We have it for stucco and we have it for wood. 2 different types. If you were to go down to Home Depot and buy a stucco pat repair kit, it comes in a plastic container. You pop the lid. It's a powder. You mix water and stir it up to a paste. You spread it on and let it dry just like cement. If you were to take that and spread it onto this petroleum product, plastic, let it do this, what do you think would happen the first time I did this? It'd break in a million pieces. First of all, if it had water in it, which it does, it wouldn't stick to the petroleum product. Ours isn't water-based. And it does not, it's got elasticity, so it cracks. So we take and blast open their cracks, patch it with the patented Flex Patch, and then we prime it and paint it, and then done. And then the wood, all of their wood that's not rotten, it's weathered, we take and fill it with Flex Patch for wood. They use 5-gallon, 10-gallon jugs of these on most every home. Because there's a lot of Flex Patch, especially a wood-sided house. There's all of these little lines and cracks in it, and they have to spread that in to fill all those cracks. They're fascia boards, and their barge rafters, they're weathered. They're not rotten. They're just weathered from the sun hitting it so much. There's a lot of cracking in it. They take and fill those up with their putty knives. And when it's done, you'll never see those cracks again. And it will not fade. That's the other thing about it. This has fade block technology. That's why we can do any color in the rainbow, every color in the rainbow, including the IKEA store. You talk about IKEA. We did that because they were having to paint every 3 years just because it would fade so bad because of dark blue and bright yellow. Well, Tex-Cote has fade block technology. It also has a Class A fire rating. I've got already in my career, I know of probably about 22 homes that have been spared because we sold Tex-Cote to them. I remember the Rancho Cucamonga fire in 2001 came down the side of that hill and took out 2-mile section of homes, burned them flat to the slab. Amongst it was a dozen homes that we sold Tex-Cote to. And those homes are still standing. The fire or the television station was out there interviewing them, wanting to know what they did to prevent their home from burning down. What they all said is they fled just like everybody else. They're just shocked that God spared their home. And their homes were all tile roofs and stucco walls. Those hot burning embers that were coming off the Santa from the Santa Ana winds blowing those hot embers weren't catching their roof on fire, wasn't catching their walls on fire. What it did is it got up underneath their dry soffit, their overhangs, which are like kindling, dry wood, and it caught all of those homes on fire from underneath the roof. Because we had Tex-Cote Cool Wall sprayed on all of the house, under the soffit and all, it prevented those from, it gives them a 30-minute opportunity to burn itself out without igniting the roof. Or it did not burn their homes. We had in Fairfield, we had 2 homes. We had a Napa Valley fire, we had 3-4 homes that we had Tex-Cote on that did not burn. You know, so it's got a Class A fire rating. We also have one in Antelope where they had a whole city block, a house caught on fire on the corner, caught the next house on fire because they're only 10 foot apart. They put a fence 5 foot between the homes. The next home caught on fire. The 4th home had Tex-Cote on it. Stopped. Saved the other 3-4 homes on the end of them from all burning. So, hey, again, you could have your neighbor's home catch on fire and prevent your home. We got paid to go out and spray that wall because it singed it, but the insurance company paid us to go out and redo that wall. So it's got a Class A fire rating, and that's going to mean a lot to people, especially that live out in the country where there's a lot of sagebrush and that around them. They got to do everything they can. And now the fire department or the insurance companies are dropping fire insurance like crazy in California.
Yep.
Most people can't get it. And especially up in the mountains where they're up there in the timber country, they can't get fire insurance anymore. They won't insure them. So they need to do everything in their advantage. But anyway, the 10-step process. So after they patch, caulk, prep, then they go and mask everything off, cover everything that can get overspray on it. There's like miles of tarps. And then they hit it with the first coat of armor, the primer, the most critical part. And guess what? The reason why this here is also been sitting with water on top of I took a wall, turned it flat, and that's got stucco. That stucco right there has been sitting with water on it all the time I've been talking to you, and not a drop is dripping through there. This is the only paint in the world that breathes. They have a patent on the breathability. So it lets radon gas, argon gas, keeps moisture all out and keeps it nice and dry. I mean, that's what happens. Why latex paint, rubber glove, you put on it, it's like a rubber glove. It covers your wall and it traps moisture. And the water can't get out, so it causes dry rot. Dry rot has gone up by 400% since they've outlawed oil-based paint. Because all they're using is water. And if you get 3 years out of it, you're lucky. 3 years. Our best customers are people that painted in the last 3 years. because they're the ones that need it the worst. I just did one for one of my customers in Antelope. She had our windows, and I was there to sell her an HVAC system. And because she had her upstairs is her office, and she could never get the air conditioner to get below 81 degrees. It'd run nonstop, the upstairs. And I went there to see her, and I did an inspection of her HVAC system. I says, you know, this thing's only 10 years old. I mean, I could sell you a brand new system, but I think what you need is, let me show you a product that's going to take care of your energy problem. I showed her Tex-Cote. She sent me in August of this year a picture of her upstairs thermostat at 65 degrees. She never, ever got it below 81. It made that big a difference of cutting her air conditioning costs. And then they actually added Kynar to Tex-Cote, which in the last year, and Kynar is a Teflon, a non-stick property. It adds it's a phenomenal product.
We just added that in the last year.
Yeah, in the last year. And it's the same non-stick property that they put in a frying pan. It's tough as Teflon. And because of it, it adds a hard finish with low water absorption and low surface tension, non-stick properties, enhance chemical resistance, enhance heat resistance, and increased reflectivity. The Department of Energy proved 2-year simulated test that Tex-Cote will save 21.9% on your cooling costs. But now they think it's closer to 30%. And they're now going through the new 2-year test to determine what the new advantage by adding Kynar to it is, actually increase the efficiency drastically. So can you imagine cutting your energy bill by 30%? You know, in the summer, $200-300 electric bill. Cut that by 30%. That's $100 or more. Add that up in the next 10 years.
Plus your comfortability.
Yeah, plus your comfort. Your home's going to be about 10 to 15 degrees cooler. That's the biggest thing I noticed. My wife and I, when we did our home in Southern Cal, because I have a big home with a heating and air upstairs and heating and air downstairs. And all summer long, all I have is palm trees around it. For that, there's no shade in palm trees. And it gets blasted with the direct sun all summer long. And our air conditioner upstairs would run nonstop. The upstairs was always running. But after Tex-Cote went in, it never kicked on. My wife turns it on.
Palm Springs or something?
Huh?
Palm Springs?
No, it's in Corona, Southern Cal.
Okay.
It's close to Palm Springs, but it
It gets hot for sure.
yeah, it gets in a,
Summers are brutal, right?
yeah, it's hot all summer long.
Yep, Riverside and that.
And so it cut our energy bill by more than 50%, because I did all the windows and I did the Tex-Cote, and it cut our electric bill by more than 50-60%.
Huh.
My wife, I was just trying to figure out before the solar changed to NEM3, I was going to put solar on my property down there. I had my wife send me the 12 months electric bill and that for it. My little bitty apartment, the little 3-bedroom house that I've got right here in Citrus Heights, which is a small house, 1,300 square feet versus 4,200 square feet. That house in Southern Cal uses less energy than this home right here. And I put all our new windows in it. But it's all because I can't put Tex-Cote on it because I'm in the homeowner association and they take care of the paint. But anyway, so it makes that big a difference. It keeps your home about 10 to 15 degrees cooler in the summer months. So anyway, back to the 10-step process. Once they do the primer, they have a guy going around with back roller, making sure it goes on evenly. And then the next day they hit it with the color. And then they spray it with the color. And then the trim gets done last by hand. And usually the trim of most homes is the worst part. We end up replacing all the trim. Well, they actually spray the primer, they spray the wall color and color the trim twice, but then they do the third coat, which is the trim coat. They do it all by hand. So it really gets 3 coats on the trim. we'll never be out there ever replacing trim on a house. It's a true lifetime product. So now you're talking about an investment that is going to pay for itself over and over and over. Where I always tell them, paint is an expenditure. You might as well take your money and just flush it down the toilet. Versus investing it in your home, spend a little more, do it right, and never ever worry about the exterior of your house the rest of your life.
And the transferable warranty, right?
It transfers in the first 5 years. So if they sell it within the first 5 years, the warranty transfers to the next owner for their lifetime.
Oh, okay.
But it's gonna last a lifetime. I mean, I'm proof, I'm 29 years later on my house.
Right.
You know, I show the pictures. Yeah, there's my home.
Wow.
That's a part of it, which it goes back with courtyards. See the courtyard, all the walls I did with Tex-Cote, all my rails, iron rails, 29 years ago. They've been getting hit with the sprinklers every day for 29 years and the sun, direct sun on it. And it looks immaculate. Look at that.
Wow.
What do they call that? Effervescence, what is it?
Efflorescence. Yeah, with
Efflorescence.
stucco, what happens
starts
with
to-
paint on stucco, it ends up trapping moisture and it turns your stucco into powder. It's called efflorescence. You go up and I can take homes that are freshly painted with regular paint, latex paint, rubber glove, and peel part, it bubbles, and peel it and bang the walls and all the stucco just disintegrates.
Yep.
Now they end up having to spend $15,000 to have their exterior re-plastered with stucco before we can go in and finish painting. So the worst thing to do is put water-based latex paint on stucco and wood. It's the worst thing you can do. But anyway, now and look here, there's still water sitting on top of it. And I can take and wipe that off and that wall is 100% dry. There is no dampness, no moisture to it whatsoever. And now let's take and let me show you. I took an aspirin. Here's a regular aspirin. I'm going to drop it in the liquid. And then I'm going to take the one that was soaked in the hydrophobic resin. I'm going to take it out.
Mhm.
And we do this. This is the demonstration we do in a home. And now, let me take this one, dry it off. Guy, tell me, does that fill that? That's perfectly dry.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to take this aspirin and I'm going to help it. I'm going to break it in half and drop it in the water. Now, the main reason it breathes and was waterproof is because of this hydrothermic pigment. This pigment is the finest powder in the world. Now, Guy, let's use your finger. Wake up here. Come here.
What? No, I'm just trying to get something off my eye.
Okay, put your finger in there.
All right.
Get it coated good and
Well,
okay. Now
Everything
put
including.
your finger in that water.
All right.
Now look at your finger. Guys, come look at his finger through the glass. If you haven't seen this, come look at this.
It looks like a coating.
Look at his finger. Looks like he's got a force field around it. It's like a rubberized coating. Now take this finger out and this finger and put it in. Look,
All right, get that one in.
and tell me which one's cold and which one's warm.
This one's cold. This one's warm.
Yeah, the one with Tex-Cote is warm.
Right.
But anyway,
Okay.
now look at this other aspirin. It is completely dissolved.
I'll pick your nose.
Yeah, it will take a while to wear off, about a month.
Good. I'll have one dry hand.
Oh, you will. You will. Now look at this other
Yeah,
aspirin.
we might use that for the rain.
This aspirin that I dropped in half.
Put it on the clothes.
I'm gonna put this aspirin back together.
Oh, yeah?
And tell me, can you even see a crack?
Nope. No.
That aspirin is solid, not even the edge dissolved. And this aspirin's gone, dissolved. This aspirin I can leave in water indefinitely and it'll never, ever dissolve. So if I can do that to an aspirin, I can do it to paper, what am I going to do to your wood and stucco? I'm going to protect it and waterproof it just like this did for a lifetime. Keeping all the elements of Mother Nature from going wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, and causing expansion, contraction of your walls constantly moving because of that element. So anyway, yes.
So I had a rep say that, Tex-Cote is really good for the cinder block homes like the building 50, the South Sac, you know, that little area down.
Oh, yeah.
65th and 21st.
Blue Ridge.
But for the energy efficiency, those houses are always gonna be cold. It's not gonna really have an energy efficient effect on the houses, on the interior, is it?
Well, the main thing is that cinder block you're never going to have to paint it again.
Right.
That's the main thing, but it's also going to still help on energy efficiency. Not as much as it would a regular stucco frame, you know,
Solid
2x6 with R19 wall. Because of the lath and plaster. Them older homes are full lath and plaster inside. And they're made of cinder block on the outside. And they're just coated over. So, yeah, I've sold them.
I mean, just as, it's not gonna change the internal temperature because those houses are usually colder on the inside anyway.
Well, they get hot in the summer. I mean, they still will warm up. Those walls get hot.
Yeah.
They get 40 degrees hotter in the hot direct sun. You go out there and I take a heat gun. And here we take this. I'll show you the last thing we do. Is I've taken a metal, this is a metal ruler. Solid metal all the way through. Put the primer right here is on there. The primer is coated on this here. Now I'm going to have you hold on to that at the bottom.
Okay.
And I'm going to heat that up. And let's heat this up until that gets red, until it starts getting red. Tell me when you feel the heat transfer through you down to your fingers. And this side's starting to turn. Does you ever use a metal skillet? If you ever go up, you know not to grab it without a pot pan.
You only do it once.
You only do it once. But this, right now, this side is red, backside. And you don't feel any heat, do you?
Mm-mm.
Wow. Awesome.
Now, take that and put it in the water. You hear that? That was hot.
Mhm.
Yeah, it stops the transfer of heat. So now what happens in the summertime, your walls heat up to 140 to 150 degrees. And then when the sun goes down, it takes till 2 in the morning to drop down to air temperature to cool off. You can walk next to a home, the wall, and feel it radiating the heat.
Mhm.
But it's with Tex-Cote on, as soon as the sun drops, it immediately goes to air temperature. Immediately. You know, so it doesn't take till 3, 2 in the morning to cool down. And then the sun comes up at 7 in the morning and heats it back up again. And that's why their air conditioner's running nonstop.
And it protects the air conditioner and heating.
Yeah, you're going to reduce the wear and tear on the heater, wear and tear on the air conditioner. You're giving them comfort. You know, if your home's 10 degrees cooler on a hot summer day, it's enough where you don't need to turn the AC on. It's like keeping a thermos bottle, keeping it, whatever's in it, hot or cold. And that's exactly what Tex-Cote does. So make sure, guys, get the word paint out of your vocabulary.
Yes, sir.
It's called Tex-Cote Cool Wall.
Right.
We have a product that's going to prevent that dry rot. Once we're the only company that will go out and replace all dry rot before we paint. No painting contractor out there does dry rot repair. All they do is do paint. You have to hire a company that does dry rot repair, and they end up charging twice as much as we do. And they make a killing doing it.
Mhm.
They're usually covered by insurance companies, and because of that, they get a premium dollar out of it. Where we can go in there and replace the dry rot. Now, you got to use some common sense too, guys. If you walk up and you see their soffit is rotten, is Tex-Cote going to fix that?
No,
We need to sell them a new roof first. Just like I did one
Mhm.
last month. I was there for Tex-Cote. I told them I will not sell you Tex-Cote. Your roof needs replaced and all your soffits are rotten. And it needs to be replaced from the top by replacing your roof. So I sold them a roof. And then I went back and sold them the Tex-Cote right after it was done. Arced it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
But you guys should have caught it. You stand there looking at their door, you look up and you see the dang thing hanging down. Yep. You should be pitching a roof first.
Like our sale in Oak Creek.
And also got to understand these homes that have that fake wood, like in Antelope, that MDF, that we cannot put a Tex-Cote and give a lifetime warranty on. All it is pressed paper, and it could already have rot in it, doesn't show itself for years to come. You know, so, but do I still sell those? Absolutely. And I'll replace the bad with a better material, and then we'll prime it and paint it and do Tex-Cote on it. And the thing is if it were my home, it's the only thing I would put on it, because now I got a fighting chance that I won't be replacing all of it. And doing siding on a whole new home, having to replace it with all new siding or re-stuccoing. They all say they want to re-stucco their house. Well, that's going to cost them between $35,000 and $50,000, and then they still got to paint it.
Yep, that's like the one you ran in Cameron Parkamon.
Yep. So I went and spent 10 grand fixing all their wood and replacing it all for far less than 35, 40,000 that they would have spent to get it ready for paint. So you got to talk to them and say, let us come out and show you what we've got. We got a lifetime permanent product and we'll make your wood look brand new for the rest of its life.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on Tex-Cote?
I'm amazed at what I've seen
Awesome, we're
again.
excited.
So,
I didn't know it was fire resistant.
yes, Class A fire rated.
And that's great to talk about now with all the Southern California
Yep.
fires.
Yep.
Class A fire rated. So end up, this is, I did a mini demo, but if you look here, this took me an hour and it normally takes me 2 hours to do a proper demo.
Right.
So you got to get our expectation, and you got to also can't be, if the guy's working, he's young and he works from home and he has an hour lunch break. Am I going to be able to do my 10-step presentation to sell in
No.
Tex-Cote?
Oh, sure.
That's just like the one I sold on this last week. I ran it on a Tuesday. The wife is at work and he's working from home. So I had to reset it for the time they both could be present. And I went back Saturday and I sold it. But you guys set it for the wrong day. It was a great lead. You guys write great leads. You just set them for the wrong freaking day. You got to give us the opportunity to do our job. We can't go in there and do one-legged, do this. How does he share all this with his wife?
Never gonna happen.
Never going to happen. And if I don't have the, and guess what? And if the wife is just like that one I sold, the wife who was at work, guess who was the one that bought it full price? I laid out the pricing. The wife goes, honey, I think we should just get this done. Go get the checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If it were up to him, he'd be, I got to talk to my wife. But I was able to sell it right then. My one-legged closes is about 2% for the year.
Mm-hmm.
My overall close is 47% for the year on two-party demos. So which do you want to put your odds on? The 2% closed or the 47% closed?
Definitely the 47.
What'd you do business last year?
Huh?
Business.
I did 3 million. I do about three.
He's doing 3 million. He's got a 47% close. If you guys write a good lead, he's gonna close it. You're making money with him.
But you gotta give us, cause I have a high reset and a high no demo. And if my demo was 10% higher, I'd do another $1 million in business.
Right.
But that's up to you guys. You gotta set up the right opportunity. You can't let us go to the door and they say, go ahead and measure. Gates open. Let me know when you're done. I mean, we can't sell those. You've got to set up the expectation from there. You might not write as many leads, but the ones you do get us in, we're going to sell, demo, and close at a high percentage. And it all starts with you guys out there in that field.
Yes, sir. One thing you mentioned earlier, you said, you walked into a yard and you said, go ahead, take your measurements and do your estimate. I think one thing that'll help greatly as someone who's in field setting these appointments is lose the word estimate, because that creates
Yes.
the idea in your head that you're dropping off a piece of paper with
Right.
the numbers.
That's exactly,
Try to exchange estimate with demo or consultation. It's
Yep.
a better platform.
yeah, my representative will come out and give you a free consultation. He'll go around and do an assessment of the home, and then he's going to want to come in and sit down and show you a demonstration of what this product does, because it's not just paint. That's all you got to tell them. It's an investment into your home where you're going to do it once and never do it again. So take the time to learn what the product can do for you. The representative will come in, will show you a demonstration of exactly all the benefits and features of what that product does, because it blows away paint. And now, and they'll say, well, it sounds expensive. Well, what's more expensive is painting a home every 3 to 5 years. That's where it's expensive. That's going to cost you more in the long run. So do it once, spend a little more than paint and get it done right. Because when I get done demoing it, I get them thinking just a paint job's going to cost $15,000, $18,000. Because I talk about the cost of paint, cost of labor. Go to McDonald's, you can get $20 an hour. Now try to hire a laborer for less than $20 an hour. It's impossible. So we have to charge a lot more for labor and material. And so the cost of a cheap paint job is gone way up. We're not that much more expensive for Tex-Cote.
And installers are actually certified and trained by Tex-Cote Cool
Yeah,
to do this application. They're trained.
yes. So they're certified by the manufacturer. That's why the warranty comes directly from the manufacturer, the largest exterior paint product company in the world. Everybody, everywhere, Home Depot, Lowe's. Home Depot uses our product. They're the biggest seller of paint product in the world. They sell bare paint. But they don't use it on their own building because they don't want to have to close down and repaint it every 3 years. Yes.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I know like our windows, roofs, there's a lot of transferable warranties. Is this one of those warranties that are transferable? Is that something that?
Within the first 5 years.
Within the first 5 years? Okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Always mention the IKEA building. I can't tell you how many
Yeah.
Tex-Cote, so you ever seen the IKEA building, West Sac? Big blue vibrant building? Everybody's seen that building if they're driving around the freeway.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times it made it so easy for these guys to close it, because they know that damn building down there.
Yep.
All right, guys. Tom, thank you, Tom. Appreciate that.
Tex-Cote leads today, guys.
Very dull.
You know what you're looking for.